Hey YouTube, psych, no, this is not my 1998 Oldsmobile Regency white with tan leather interior. It is a listing from my local scrapyard. This happens to be, for all practical intents and purposes, an identical copy of my car, except it's in the junkyard. So today we're going to talk about some stuff that I managed to get fixed on my car. So this is my 1998 Oldsmobile Regency. As you can see, pretty much like what's in the junkyard. Except the one in the junkyard in some ways was in nicer condition in terms of the interior and the body, although I can say that there's no exterior rust on this entire car, even though it's 22 years old. Okay, Team YouTube, so problem with the Regency was that I was getting no air, even though the fan was turning. I was not getting air out of the vents, out of the heat. It was only coming out of the defrost. So there was an issue. So the parts I harvested include the front climate control. I think, well, maybe there's a bad signal somewhere. This, based on the snap locks and all that, it can just pop right out of the dashboard. So pretty easy there. The next thing that I harvested was the vacuum tree. And that's what I'm calling. That's what I've heard it called before. But let me explain some stuff about this real quick. Hey, Team YouTube. Getting back to talking about the lack of airflow through the vents and the heater vents on my 1998 Oldsmobile Regency. Here it is. Got it up on jack stands because I'm getting some wheels changed out for it. But other than that, let's see here. So here's what I did. I literally found an identical car in the junkyard, and the one piece that I thought I really needed was the vacuum tree here. And this is a vacuum tree. It comes with the cover here, and the way it's installed into the car is literally this. If you're looking towards the firewall from the passenger seat, it goes in this way, and there's a couple of mounting points right here, and then a mounting point right down here. Just a couple of screws. Also, we have an electrical connector that ties into a door actuator, a blend door actuator up here, and there is also another actuator right down here that is tied into a little hook, and then a linkage that pops into another mechanical actuator. So the other part to this is we have the vacuum style actuators that go into that control the mode doors. Okay, and that they all use vacuum lines, and this is a technology that's kind of disappeared from the automotive world. I think vacuum is just less reliable, and I looked all over YouTube for things about it. Didn't really find a whole lot. Suffice it to say, to pull these, you have to pull much of the dash apart in a car to get down to where you're really controlling those mode doors. So blend doors, my understanding is blend doors is like heat and cold, how hot or cold it is. Mode doors are the things that say it comes out the defrost, it comes out the vent, or it comes out the heater level vents. So this part right here, this plugs into this part of the module here. I did manage to damage mine, but I also tried a repair a long time ago that I thought was the correct thing. Oh, and there's a 6mm nut that goes on there. But the way this comes off is you kind of have to get under it and kind of pry around it a little bit. Of course, this is kind of a soft plastic. You don't want to be really aggressive on it. But take your time, go slow, because I don't believe these things are made anymore. So where do I think my part is defective? Even though I tried the repair on this, it didn't really seem to change anything. I think I have something up here in the vacuum trees or in the board or something like that that was the problem. So let's talk about the other stuff that I got. So this is a vacuum actuator. It literally is a kind of an accumulator up here that collects vacuum, so to speak, and then it pulls the actuator. I can pull it there, and you actually can see it move. And it's kind of cool when it works. And this uses engine vacuum. And vacuum back in the day for cars made in the 60s, 70s, vacuum was used to do everything from moving pop-up headlights, obviously climate control. Sometimes they would even get aggressive enough to use it for things like convertible roof type systems. So let's talk about how I diagnosed This is the vacuum connector that goes to the vacuum actuators that are buried inside of the dash. And this is the connector that goes with that. There's another really great YouTube video that shows a guy fixing it. I tried the same fix and I was unsuccessful. Mine didn't work, so likely the problem exists somewhere in this vacuum actuator. So in diagnosing my problem in hindsight, it actually seems very simple because I wasn't getting any actuation at all from any of the 1, 2, 3 actuators here. It meant that the problem was somewhere upstream. It would be unusual if all 3 of these things simultaneously failed. Now, what I did before I hooked this up is I literally, or hooked the good one up, is I literally took and hooked up vacuum to this. I assembled everything, and then I started playing around with the buttons on the dash, and you could actually physically, when you turned a button, you could see these move. And it was kind of cool. Now, I couldn't get all of them to move, just one of them. I didn't know what was up with that, but I thought, what the heck, I'm already here, let's just plug the car in and see what happens. But what I believe is there is a passenger climate control on this particular vehicle where you have the pass there. That's so the passenger can control their level of cool or heat, and that moves some of the mode doors and also blend doors too, I believe, so that the passenger gets that, you know, his and hers or his and his or whatever you want climate control. So that's everything, YouTube. I hope everyone found this video helpful. Have a great day, YouTube. That's the cover to the vacuum actuator. Notice it has the signature of the auto parts salvage yard on it, so I might just take this back for my money back. Oh, it didn't work! Not like they don't have a ton of my money already. Shh, don't tell anybody. Okay, so now this is the defective one that was off of my car, but the one that came from the junkyard is just like it. So what I did is before installing it in the car, I literally plugged in the vacuum lines that were under my dash, like these, and I also plugged in the electrical connector, and just to see if I could actuate the doors to get ventilation, you know, at the vent level and on the heat level in the car. And so that worked really good. Of course, it was kind of strange. I was thinking, you know, retrospectively, so these particular vacuum actuators, how could all 3 fail at the same time? Not very likely. So I concluded, and based on that test, that the fault was somewhere in this vacuum tree here somewhere. So that's everything, YouTube. Hope somebody found this helpful. These vacuum things are, like I say, I'm glad they're gone because they're just not as reliable, I think, as the systems that are used these days.